Well, we need to call this September 17th meeting of the Powell Conservation Commission to order, and hopefully Megan will be with us shortly. The first thing on our agenda is approval of minutes from August the 18th, 2024, and I think we all received that via email. Were you able to see?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Okay. We have email issues. So any questions about those minutes? No?
I didn't study it, no.
Thank you, Nate. All right, so without any further ado, can we make a motion to approve those minutes?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of the August 18th meeting.
Great. I will second that motion. So approved. Okay, so now we are moving on to reports and updates. And the first item on our agenda is the VORC update. And I think kind of just maybe if we popcorn this a little bit, like whoever has an update about this so far would be great. Nate?
Yeah, I mean, I guess I just figured, I don't know how pertinent this is depending on kind of who's planning on working this or whatever, but I was just going to kind of go through and just read off the bullet points from the update that Tara sent out because it seems like at the moment we're all kind of in a holding pattern waiting on a couple of things that Tara is sort of spearheading.
Yeah.
But there is some cool stuff in the works. So yeah, the very quick version is she's been working on getting a design engineered for the road improvements in the parking lot, and she's sort of working that through a variety of different processes here. But she's gotten the actual design now, so that's a good step in the right direction. She's working on getting some permits that are needed, trail markers that are coming in. She's got sort of some signage and stuff that's going to go up as soon as we can figure out kind of where to put it and sort of how we want to deal with it. Um, she is also meeting with Sarah Gardner. It sounds like that's not going to be a conservation commission thing. I think Tara is going to be kind of spearheading that along with Sarah and the students, so we can, I think, to a large degree, kind of keep our hands off of that. Um, yeah, we're working with Samantha at the BCRC. She's going to be our sort of mapping expert for doing these inventories, which she's very kindly sort of volunteered to do as part of her BCRC work. And then I guess the big thing, which we can get into a little bit later, is that I think sort of our primary work in the near term is going to be trying to support Tessa McGann, who's the county forester. Yeah, I mean the little update on her is just that we're trying to set up a time to meet with her right now. I sent her an email and I'm just waiting to hear back. Um, I think that's about it for Vorak. I don't have anything sort of outside of what Tara's done. I'm just kind of waiting for someone to tell me what to do.
Right. Yeah, I kind of think we all feel that way.
Yeah.
I will say I'm supposed to talk to Sarah Gardner tomorrow.
Oh, cool.
And yeah, I see her at the farmer's market sometimes, and we're often like sort of ships passing in the night. And so I think I finally have a time to talk with her tomorrow. And just out of my own, just for my own edification, I'm just a little bit curious. I did ask to sit in on the next meeting that they have with students. I'm just curious. I'm just curious about the survey process and that sort of thing. And I think she said in her email, if anybody else was interested in sitting in on one of those just to see kind of what's going on, that's cool. It's fine.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and hopefully, once we manage to get a meeting with Tessa, I think she's kind of going to be the one who will be able to sort of, I assume it's not necessarily going to be delegating tasks to us, but delegating sort of things that we need to run down, experts we need to find, things like that. But I don't really know. I guess we'll find out more once we get to actually talk with her.
I'm really hopeful for that. I know that both of us want to meet with Tessa. Is there anyone else on the commission? If we can get her pinned down for a day that works for her and works for us, just kind of run with it. Does anyone else also, they necessarily want to be present for that?
Although we need to make sure we're under the quorum amount, right? So we don't accidentally have a meeting.
that's true. Oh,
Oh, so you
that's,
don't want too many, you mean?
yeah, no, it just
Right.
wants to be two of us. That's right. Never mind, I'm sorry.
Well, so yeah,
That was the
Jeannie and I
question,
can
was
meet
whether
with
she was a
her and then
licensed
we'll update
forester.
you at the
Right.
next meeting.
That's been resolved.
Thank you for that reminder.
Because if she isn't, you need a forester.
Oh, God.
I mean, you did find out she is a licensed forester.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you were making a joke. Sorry.
What?
No, sorry.
That was the question last week.
No, she is. Yes.
Yeah,
Great.
it's official. She's the one that's going to be doing this project.
Okay. Any other Borg updates from anyone else? Okay, so if we could get an update on the takeaways from the Parks and Rec hike and the town forest with the Green Mountain Club from anyone who attended that, I would love to hear it.
That's also me. I
Were
went
you
with
in that hike?
Jennifer and my wife and
When
Alexandra.
was it?
What's that?
Oh, when was it? I missed it.
Oh, it was really it was a Parks and Rec led thing. And the reason I went is just because Jennifer mentioned that it was happening. So it wasn't really set up to be, I think, sort of open to kind of the wider public. And I don't think there was really any publicizing of it. Really, the goal was to bring some Green Mountain Club volunteers out into the woods and show them around and kind of talk with them about sort of what our next steps might be in yeah, sort of what the next step in the process is for kind of getting things moving, getting the trails developed. So they had some good insights, and Jennifer and I are going to sit down later this week and kind of put together some sort of action items based on what we talked about. The biggest one is that we've set up a time where I'm gonna go walk with this guy, David, who works for the Taconic Crest. It's like the Taconic Hikers Club or something like that. And he has a lot of control over sort of whether we will be able to connect in with the Taconic Crest Trail and sort of how we would do that and what we need to do in terms of sort of limiting ATV access in order to be allowed to do that because what they're saying is that there's a lot of problems with people using the town land to access the Taconic Trail on their motorized vehicles and then riding up there. And from what we can see, there are a handful of different connections where they might be able to do that. So part of what the Green Mountain folks suggested was to try and figure out ways to like find pinch points on some of those roads and drop a big boulder in the way to kind of restrict the ability for people to get around. Yeah, so a few ideas were floated, signage, but yeah, that's another one where we'll know a little more once we talk to this guy. But yeah, progress is being made on that. We might be able to get Green Mountain Club to help us map stuff out, but they're really using essentially all trails, so we can kind of do the same thing that they were doing. I think that's kind of it. Yeah, I mean they were really excited about it, and this guy Matt, who does sort of trail design, said that he would be willing to. He said he's really busy right now, but like once we're ready to actually dive into sort of developing the trails, that he'd be happy to kind of come on and consult us on that. So that's really great. They all seem like good guys.
Can I ask a clarification question?
Mhm.
So, so I was going through again, just sort of the documentation around all of this today and the agreements between the grantors and the grantees. And it appeared to me that from the documentation that we've been given, that motorized vehicles, with the exception of like snowmobiles, aren't permitted anyway, except for example, like emergency rescue, agricultural purposes, reasons for like maintaining the trails and that sort of thing.
Right.
Is that your understanding as well?
I can't speak to snowmobiles specifically. Yeah, my understanding is that the current law, which is unfortunately not being followed, is that yeah, motorized vehicles are only allowed in this one very specific situation, which is handicap access to the Fish and
Right.
Game Club. And then
Okay.
yeah, sure, like emergency rescues or whatever.
Right.
So So that's good, and I think we can make a pretty good argument that like that law in addition to a bunch of I think really the problem is that people don't know. I mean, we ran into some people while we were hiking who were on their dirt bikes up there and they're like, "Oh yeah, we just went up to the fishing game club to hang out or whatever." Like I think a lot of it is just going to be letting people know that these particular roads they can't use and there's lots of other roads they can use instead. So I think it's all manageable stuff to kind of keep that under control. And yeah, currently, yeah, the law is basically nobody unless it's handicap
Yeah.
access to the fishing game club.
I think it did say if you were accessing the club, you could go on.
Okay. And then
Well, I would have to double check that
Okay.
as well. But
Yeah, that's worth double check. Actually, yeah, Bill, if you don't mind double checking that, that'd be great. Because yeah, I think Jennifer was under the impression that it was only handicap access and that others who want to access fishing game have to hike out there.
see, I also,
So that could be for the future plan. But the problem is our last, when we purchased the land originally in the 2000, they had that specifically written in there that you could access that. So I think you might have an uproar if you completely, but in the future plan, I know they wanted to limit the access.
Yeah.
So in our future goal from the land trust, they want to see the activity limited.
Uh-huh.
But in our past plan, it was specified that access to the hunting camp via an ATV or, that's where we're seeing the slight change, I think. But I would just have to double check that with Tara,
Mhm.
just so I don't want to give anybody the wrong answer either, but
Yeah.
'cause I do know that in the future, they would like to see limit the access.
Well, what sort of enforcement is there? I mean, who would write the ticket? No one?
None.
no,
Not
I don't think there's any
currently.
real enforcement.
I do know, like New York State Police and them, they probably patrol up on occasion. Because I've seen them out on some trails,
Mhm.
but
Yeah, I
maybe
see
fishing
people bringing the
game.
four-wheelers right in the Petersburg Passway.
But
The guy
Okay.
from Green Mountain Club said that when we were walking up that main trail, he said based on sort of his experience, he didn't see any indication that there were a whole lot of people using that main artery that we've been hiking up beyond the Fish and Game Club. And for what it's worth, I mean, we were kind of discussing this and thinking about it while we were hiking. Like, there are a lot of people in town that really like riding their ATVs, and like this
Yeah.
is a park for them too. So I wonder if part of the way we can kind of rectify this is to just make a compromise and find a way for these folks to get up to the Fish and Game Club and give them a nice little loop, and then that sort of given to them with the addition of signage on the other trails that say, hey, like now that you have a spot to go, why don't you leave these for hikers? People, most people are really reasonable. I don't think I don't think there are a whole lot of people that are just going to blatantly blow past the fences and ride past the signs without giving it a second thought. Maybe a few, but there's nothing you can do about them.
and did the dirt bikes, were they responsible over the weekend?
Yeah, I mean, we heard him coming. There was a guy who was revving his engine really hard, but they came around the corner nice and slow, and they were very polite and took off their helmets and chatted with us for a minute. So yeah, they were cool. They weren't. Yeah, I didn't get the impression they meant any harm or they were doing anything crazy up there.
Yeah, and the same thing, like when we went up a couple of weeks ago, we see it side by side and they're driving real slow. So
Yep.
it is, it's definitely something that we should talk about, but
Yeah. And I do think, I want to double check this, but I'm pretty sure, and maybe you wrote this too. There's also an exception for agriculture, looking, I think specifically for like agroforestry. With the exceptions also given like sort of like the ability to harvest timber in certain situations in certain areas. Like it seems to be pretty well sort of mapped out and it's very specific requirements when that can be done. But I think that's just another, I just want to be really clear about, it seems like there are a number of exceptions. And I do think that idea about creating a loop so that we have a nice compromise for people getting to the club. That makes a lot of sense, I think.
Bill, are you cool kind of running down exactly where that stuff all stands, or do you feel pretty confident on what you just said?
No, I can double check just to make
Cool.
sure,
Thank you.
get that.
Yeah, that would be great. That'd be really helpful. Yeah,
Yep.
thanks.
Okay. Anything else from the hike? I really have to make one of these hikes. Otherwise, hiking somewhere else.
One other thing I can throw out there. So, All Trails is an amazing free app you can download on your phone. And if you just let it run while you're exploring, there are ways that you can export that data and I can sort of gather it together into a map. So, yeah, if you do go out and hike, or if you have friends that are going out, tell them to download All Trails and you basically just hit start and go and then hit finish when you're done. And that information can be really helpful as people sort of explore new areas.
Definitely.
Is that area where we park to go on the hike? Is that available for you people to park at or not?
Yep. Yeah, you can go for it, man. We're not like advertising that it's open, but you're absolutely welcome to go and hike there whenever you want and tell your friends about it and stuff, as far as I can tell.
Okay. And let's, if we can, no objection, move on to the next item on our agenda. Email technical difficulties. Are they resolved? Do you wanna?
Mine's, I need to fix mine.
Yeah, I haven't been able to access my email.
And like Megan said she hasn't been able to either, which might be why she's not here. She might not even know this meeting is happening right now. So
Oh, gosh, I didn't.
I wonder if we need maybe we should send around like phone numbers or something and just create a text group strictly for the purpose of making sure that everybody knows that there's a meeting coming while we try and sort this stuff out. And also like anybody whose email isn't working, I mean, I honestly don't know who to go to. Maybe Tara could help me,
Yeah,
but
she told me she'd help me straighten it out.
I mean, somebody
Cool.
has to know, like, that's.
Tara should be able to.
Yeah. I was
Okay.
not aware that Megan's was still not working. I thought that had been resolved. So that's,
But it was
Yeah.
posted, when I came down to vote, it was posted in there, about the meeting being postponed a week.
Well, yeah, Tara is often in her office. I'm sure she's always working hard, but she's very generous with her time if you just pop in. So,
Oh, she said anytime, yeah.
she might
I
be able to
didn't
solve it
make
for
an
you in 5
appointment.
minutes.
yeah, because I think now three of us then don't have, I mean, mine is fine. I don't have any issues accessing it. Margaret, you're good. Nate, yeah, I mean, so half of us though can't access. So that's
Yeah, that's not great.
no, because a lot of the documentation that we need that we've been reviewing,
Have I missed stuff on it?
oh, there's a lot that's, yeah,
I did access it at first, but then I can't get back. I don't know what happened.
okay. Well, we definitely need to make that a priority.
Yep.
I had one question about whether or not it was acceptable to set up forwarding from that account to a personal account, because I have to explicitly check the town email account. If it was forwarded to the accounts I check regularly, that would be easier, but I'm not sure if that's permitted. So maybe I can ask Tara that question.
If you do, will you let me know, Margaret? I'm having the exact same issue. Is that there are several other accounts I'm super busy on, and this is the only thing I do on this one is this. And I honestly, I need to check it more frequently than I do.
Yeah, I'll find out from Tara.
I'm sure Tara would know. I wonder if a sort of midway. My guess is that the answer is no, you can't. Just because it would probably open up your personal email to like Freedom of Information Act requests.
Yep.
But you might be able to set it up so that like every time an email comes in, Outlook automatically sends an email to you that just pings you on your own email account and says, "Hey, you got an email." I mean, I know it sucks, like it's stupid to have to do it that way, but yeah, my impression is that these rules are very rigid and like they're very concerned about getting sued.
Yeah, I agree. That's what I suspect too, is that it would open up your private email account.
hmm
Okay. Any other updates from reports or updates or I will say that I think for those of us, and again, so sorry, Margaret, you could not get through that night, but those of us who were able to meet with Michael Fernandez, I think that was very helpful. And I think it opened up a lot of possibilities for collaborations between the Conservation Commission and the Conservation District. And I really felt like that there were a lot of opportunities there to benefit residents of Pownell directly. And it was sort of a broader conversation about some specific areas about the work, but also about agricultural issues and about waterways. But I don't know if anyone else had anything they wanted to add, but I thought it was a very productive meeting.
Yeah, Michael is a really amazing guy. And yeah, I think my impression is we're not quite ready for him yet. Like, I think we
Yeah.
need to be kind of, when we're ready to start fundraising, like this guy is a maniac and he'll definitely be able to like help us and raise money on our behalf and like sort of guide us in the right direction on kind of how we can really make some stuff happen. But yeah, I think the big takeaway I had was like, oh my God, this Vorik thing is crazy. He was advising that we get like an extension on it, just to get more
Yeah.
time to do public input. So I don't know. Yeah, I mean, maybe I don't know whether Tara or others know that that's what he suggested or whether they care, but it might be worth just making sure that they hear that advice. Because yeah, we don't want to get kind of crunched into a corner at the last minute there. And
And
he
I,
said that it would be like they are very amenable to giving out extensions for such things.
For a good reason like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Public out.
and he does have a significant experience with that as well. And so I think he felt really confident in that. I think that could be very helpful. I think once we're oriented, things will move more quickly, but I agree with you. Meeting with Tessa is going to be key and helping us because um, I think we can fulfill tasks, but I personally don't feel confident knowing what all the tasks really are, even if we do have a list currently. So we'll see.
And you know, I'm actually imagining that it may not take all of us to do that stuff, and we may be able to kind of you know, as we're talking about all these different projects, like there may come a point where we can kind of divide and conquer, and a few people can focus on that, and like Jeannie, you could focus on doing some of this sort of agricultural fundraising with Michael, you know, like everybody could kind of pick a project that they feel really good about to try and push forward sort of outside of that. And then we could have a few people working with Tessa. So yeah, maybe that we're kind of waiting,
Yeah.
everyone's holding up unnecessarily and hopefully we'll know soon.
Yeah, definitely.
I do, so for updates, I know I might be stealing the show from Tara, but we do have some signs
Great.
for the town forest. So those essentially at some point will be put up. But otherwise, I know there's gonna be one at the warehouse garage there. Just if you're pointing direction and then a couple arrows right on top of the site, I think, right on top of the parking. So basically get you across the bridge and then up from 346.
That's great. Do we know when those are going up and just sort of like I mean, is there something we're waiting on or what are we?
No, I don't know. I think we have them all. I'll just have to double check with Tara.
Okay.
Because
The
I know
road crew's putting them on, right?
she dropped some for here and then some for the forest, I think, but I'll just double check.
That's great. Sweet. People like me can find it.
Yeah.
All right. So, unless there's anything else. Okay, so then we've got new business and we want to officially welcome Steve to Conservation Commission and welcome. And if you want to introduce yourself and sort of kind of talk about why you're here and what led you to your interests and things you want to be involved in, that would be great.
Oh, I was just interested. I was watching them on the YouTube. Thought I could be here in person.
I'm glad somebody's watching it. I'm glad
Yeah, there are a few other viewers, I think.
Yeah,
So it's good to have another helping hand too, so.
yeah, thank you for that. Cool.
And it sounds like Steve has some sort of don't let me put words in your mouth, but you have kind of a background in some sort of environmental adjacent sort of work, right?
I guess. I have the degree in rural resource management. I never used it for anything.
Uh,
Wow, well, here's a good opportunity.
yeah, I mean that's kind of right in our lane here. So like what does that explain to me like what that actually means?
Oh, I studied forestry and agriculture at Sterling College up north, and it's in Craftsbury Common, Vermont.
Right?
So I know a little about how to do forest management plans, but not much.
Oh, that's great, man. I mean, we should definitely make sure we pull you on board working with Tessa then. I bet she'll really appreciate just having somebody that has like that at least understands some of the terminology and stuff.
Yeah, the point sampling and stuff, sure.
I'm thinking that maybe instead of Nate, the two of us meeting with Tessa, then that maybe Steve should join you for that. Like, I think that could only be helpful for us. Unless
Get it
you,
up to three, I think.
okay,
I think three of you guys could be there.
okay.
So,
Yeah, as long as we're under that quorum, yeah.
Cool. Steve, I have your personal email. Yeah, maybe I can get you to email me your phone number or something like that, and then I can kind of keep you updated on the meeting via text or something.
I'll probably get it straightened out this week. Maybe I'll go
Okay,
see.
cool. Well, yeah, then just let me know when it's straightened out and I'll pull you into the loop. Yeah.
I don't think it should be a problem.
Shouldn't be.
Hmm.
Great. All right, sweet. Well, it's great to have you here. So item B under new business is reorganization of chair and co-chair positions. And so I asked for that to be added to the agenda, just because in full transparency, I am happy to chair this commission, but I think that sort of the work that we're doing here could really benefit from a co-chair, quite frankly, as opposed to one person doing it. And I know that we've had this structure in the past of a chair and a vice chair, but I personally, in past situations, have found co-chairs to be very helpful. And I mean, we're all very busy people right now. We're all probably overcommitted, but I just know personally it would be very helpful to have a co-chair. And I had talked briefly to Nate about that because we are working on similar things for the commission, like outside the meeting, following up on things. And anyone who is interested in that would be great. I had asked Nate if he would be interested at all in being a co-chair. And you indicated that you would be good with that. And so unless like we want some further discussion or open it up, I was going to nominate first. Let's just run this through and see if we're okay with having a co-chair situation as opposed to one chair. I guess
I
we
think
should.
it's largely semantic, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, we're all here to support you, but yeah, I'm happy to take whatever kind of chair adjacent position is helpful.
Any discussion around this?
Yeah, I don't know whether or not there are rules around which positions there can be or not be, but assuming there aren't any, I'm in favor of a co-chair and would support Nate in partnering with you on that.
It looks like we're able to sort of structure that ourselves. So I think that we do have the latitude to create a co-chair position if we want, as opposed to a vice chair.
And if we need to, we can call it a vice chair, and I'm happy to kind of take on whatever responsibilities are helpful. I mean, I certainly don't feel like I'm looking for like a resume builder or anything through this. So
Yeah, ditto.
the title doesn't mean anything to me.
All right.
Good to me.
That's fine.
Fine. Okay, well, that sounds like a quick and easy discussion. In that case, I would move to make Nate co-chair the Conservation Commission. I guess all in favor Voice, Jeannie, aye.
Bill, I.
Steve, aye.
Margaret, I.
Nate, I.
Yeah, you're good. Okay, great. Good. That's really helpful. Thank you.
Cool. Yep, absolutely.
Right. So I feel like we've kind of touched on this unless we need to dive deeper into it. And Nate, I think you would lead on this too. Plans to work with Tessa on the forestry plan. Is there anything in addition to what we've discussed?
No, I don't think so. Yeah, it would be great to pull you in on that, Steve. And the hope is that we can get that meeting to happen in the next like week or two.
The only thing I know last, Michael mentioned maybe talking to her to see if that she needed assistance maybe from the Career Development Center Forestry.
Okay.
So maybe that's something when you guys meet with her that if if there's any assistance, maybe that would be something she would like. I know.
Okay. Yeah, definitely. We will definitely. And I think that's also in the notes from our meeting when Michael was there. And we can make sure to go through and highlight that and anything else that we need to.
Yeah. Thanks for
Bring up.
bringing that up again, and I'll make sure to put it in the minutes for this meeting too, so I don't forget.
I know I mentioned it to Tara,
You
but I know she,
Okay.
there's so many things.
Yeah.
Actually, one question on the prior agenda item. Can Nate be the secretary and co-chair at the same time?
I don't know.
I hope so. I think so, but I just thought I would check.
I'm not aware of anything prohibiting that. I
Okay.
chatted with Tara about it briefly, and I can also double check to see, but that's a great point.
I'm also happy to just, shoot Tara an email and just make sure that's cool. I don't see a reason why it wouldn't be. Yeah.
Cool. Yep.
Good thought, Margaret. Thanks.
Thank you. Okay. Then next item. So Lincoln / Clay / Clayton Park, next steps.
This is something from Jennifer that she kind of reminded me about. Yeah, so this is that little strip of land that's down along Lincoln Street that the town owns. And Parks and Rec wants to put in a trail and some picnic tables. What they want us to do as the sort of Concom is kind of advise on how and where they can do that without like causing damage to or like erosion to the river. There's a bunch of really big weird plants up there. I don't know if they're invasive or not, but yeah, just sort of somebody who can kind of pull together a little bit of expertise just to advise on sort of how to create this trail safely and effectively. So that might be kind of a project that one person who's feeling excited might be able to take on, or it certainly doesn't have to happen immediately, but that was something they were hoping maybe we could help kind of do a little research on, or I mean, Jim Henderson definitely comes to mind in terms of like planting stuff along the riverbank maybe. So yeah, just putting together a little something to show to them, just to sort of give some basic guidance on kind of what we should be doing down there.
Okay.
Where is it? On Lincoln Street?
Yeah,
Yeah.
like kind of right by the pump station for the fire district well there, kind of just as it turns that corner.
Between Lincoln Street and the river.
Okay.
Uh, yeah, it's on the Hurwa map as a like a put in and take out spot for people who are like boating on the river, but there's no real access right now. So yeah, I think they would be really happy and potentially interested
Like
in
Mac Holding is
store
over
access
there.
too.
So that road,
That's Lincoln Street.
yeah.
It goes over the railroad tracks and comes out right at Mac Molding.
Yeah, so it's across from the farmhouse there, basically.
Oh, the one Lozier lives in, yeah. Yeah, I guess I knew there was something there. I've never been over.
I wonder if Urwa would be able to would have the expertise to be able to advise us on kind of what we would need to do. Yeah, it might be interesting to just get a contact over there and see if they have any sort of concerns or and also just get suggestions because I know that they've been involved in a bunch of the little landings in Williamstown and North Adams. So they've gone through that process and they might be able to kind of give us a sort of framework of like how to go about doing that. I
I
don't know
thought
if
I saw
anybody knows
something on
anybody over
Facebook
there.
from Ray Rodriguez doing some clearing down there, but I'm not sure if that's where it was or elsewhere.
No.
Is there anyone who is interested in sort of following up and just trying to find a good person at Hurwa that might be able to help advise us on this?
Yeah, I can try to work on that.
Cool. Yeah, I mean, I don't know if anybody knows somebody over there. What was the guy's name? Laurent something or other who came on one of the on the Concom hike. He was the guy who founded Hurwa, but I don't think he works for them anymore. I think they just have basically one employee, so you could probably just call the number on the website or something like that.
Sounds good.
Cool.
I know I took a look at the land. There's definitely some invasives,
Uh,
Japanese knotweed along the river. And then there would be kind of like a sandbar maybe that you could take a raft up on and off, but definitely looking, I know, clearing some of the stuff up, and I think maybe the Parks and Rec would be able to work on some of that, but
definitely.
definitely some stuff to look at. And you don't want to put anything out there that's gonna get, carried away either with a flood, so definitely good to take a look at.
hmm Yeah, we'll probably need to consult a few different people, but hopefully Hurwa will be able to give us like a list of people that they use to do this, and we can just call all the same people. And yeah, and Parks and Rec, I and Parks and Recreation are
Right.
definitely like we're happy to kind of take the helm on it. I think sort of the part that Parks and Rec needs from Concom is just yeah, kind of getting the stamp of approval that we're not gonna like wreck the river by doing what we're hoping to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Cool.
Okay. Next steps, action items. I kind of feel like we've been doing action items the whole time. We've been having
Yeah,
this
no, that's
conversation
great.
tonight.
I think that's good, and I'll make sure I've been trying to send out like a list of sort of all of the action items that we talk about in the meeting. So definitely check the minutes. And like I try and kind of put that stuff right up at the top. And yeah, I guess just to go back to what I mentioned earlier, like I think once we know more from Tessa, I'm hoping that kind of each of us can kind of pick a lane that feels interesting and start to kind of take ownership over a project where we feel like we have kind of the autonomy to make moves on things without having to kind of wait a month to come back to the meetings because I think that really slows us down. And I think largely, we're all on the same team. Our hearts are in the right place. So like, yeah, I feel good about like entrusting a project to one person to really push ahead and just give updates every month. So hopefully we'll all be able to feel a little less rudderless and like find something we can kind of latch on to and sort of work on without having to have somebody kind of keep giving us new tasks to do.
Yeah, agreed. Strongly agreed.
For action items, I have, I'm gonna check with the ATV and the UTV access for the town forest, and then I'll check with Hoorah and, see if we need to get a hold of anybody else for the river, Lincoln Street Park there.
Cool.
So I have at least got those two. I don't know if there's anything else that,
Yeah, like I said, I'm meeting with Sarah, I'm having a conversation with her tomorrow, and I do want to go to that meeting. The action item that I've got also is meeting with Tessa and whoever. Sounds like Nate and Steve may also be there as well.
Yep.
Uh,
And then the action item
Talking
for
to-
everyone with email issues is just to get those fixed as soon as possible.
I'm gonna also talk with Tara about Michael's suggestion about seeking an extension, which I think could be helpful. I don't think we want an indefinite, I think we want a really clear extension, which is the only thing I think they would agree to. I just think at this point, it's taken a minute to get this off the ground. It just makes a lot of sense to request one. Worst case scenario, they would say
Mhm.
What was the deadline, January?
no. We've got like a year and a half.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, you know, hopefully, I think what Michael was suggesting was that we needed an extension to get more community input. So
yes.
hopefully once this meeting with Tara and Sarah has happened, they'll have a better idea of kind of what the timeline on that process is. And then based on that, we can kind of make an educated decision about sort of whether we should start filling out whatever paperwork we need to get that extent, or I guess really advising Tara to do it. Because you know, she ends up having to do
Right.
everything anyway.
Right, because I think that those surveys, it looked like the sort of time, the window, the time frame for that was between September and December. So
Something like that.
that's yeah, something like that. So that's quite a span of time if we've got a year and a half to wait to get public input on some things, which doesn't mean we can't go ahead and begin doing the things that we're doing anyway, we've discussed. But yeah, I think we definitely need to work on that. Okay,
So Nate, do you feel like we've run through all the action items from the last meeting? You just folded them into the agenda, or are there any that are worth
Yeah, more or
resurfacing?
less. I mean, one thing that I spent a little time doing just earlier today was kind of trying to go back and look at the last few meetings and kind of get a good running list of kind of all of the projects that we've discussed working on at one point or another. So I'm happy to send that around, but I think we did really touch on basically all of those things. I think the only one well, there were two we missed. One was just making sure that Kate had mentioned that Darcy was having some issue with the Hoosic Bend Trail, and she thought that maybe we were violating the some sort of agreement that we had made by having a trail there. I guess she was, yeah, she had some concerns that the Hoosic Bend Trail was causing damage to that big berm there. That sort of protects the river from getting sort of cross contaminated. Um, what Jennifer said is that that has largely been dealt with, and it sounds like there's nothing that we need to do, and we're totally fine to have a trail, and that it hasn't caused damage. But that was one thing that sort of hadn't gotten fully resolved. And then the this river erosion sort of pamphlet that Jim Henderson put into our hands, like putting together sort of a Pownell pamphlet and figuring out sort of how to do targeted distribution of that to landowners that are along the Hoosic River.
So with that, I just emailed Elena Traster with MCLA. She's the environmental studies. She runs the department. But basically, I was thinking she's big on water quality and water tech. So I think that would be maybe a good project. You know, if she has any students, maybe that would be interested in that. I did reach out to her, so I'm just waiting to hear back with that. But that may be something that maybe one of her students could create for us.
Great.
That'd be
That's
great.
just an idea.
yeah.
Well, yeah, and if you know, if it would be helpful, like, you know, go ahead and just set up a meeting with her whenever she can do it and pull one other person in, and like we can, yeah, I think kind of in doing these smaller sort of meetings and projects, we can kind of move everything along a little quicker.
And I think even if you can't get one of us in at the same time, I
sure.
think it's also fine. Just go ahead and do it and then
Yep.
just report back for sure. Let's just get it done. Yeah. That
Sounds
sounds really
good.
helpful. Thank you. Okay. All right. Anything else with next steps or action items?
Is there anybody that folks want to try and invite to come to the next meeting? Or do you think it would be helpful just to be able to kind of do another session like this and really kind of put our heads together and you know, work instead?
So if Tessa would want to work with Eric at the CDC, you know, if she's down for that, maybe we could invite him next time. But that's, I think maybe getting with her first to see.
Yeah, because I was thinking about even inviting Tessa as well. Like,
Yeah, depending on how this meeting goes, I don't want to have her come and just say the same stuff she said to me
yeah,
to
that's true.
everybody. But
Yeah, there's no
but
reason.
yeah, if that meeting warrants a second meeting, it'll happen soon enough that I could absolutely schedule her to come to the next one. So maybe we leave it open for the moment, and then we can kind of chat internally over the course of the next week or so and make a plan whether we want to invite one of
That
these
sounds great.
people out. Cool.
I do think it would be helpful, and maybe this has already been done and I missed it, but I feel like I have half of our phone numbers. And would it be helpful for Tara to just circulate a list amongst us for numbers so that we could all reach each other, or not like at the same time, but like, oh, can you make this meeting? I don't know. I can't, that sort of thing. Just like helpful and effective communication
Mhm.
one-on-one if we needed that.
We should just quadruple check I'm pretty confident that that's okay because these are all communications sort of
Yeah,
about general organizing and not amongst a bunch of people at the same time. But
correct.
yeah, I just want to make sure we stay above board with our communications.
Okay, I'll double check that with Tara then, if we can't get a phone number list.
Would anybody be interested in having, there's that Association of Vermont Conservation Commissions, and that has some leadership. I think, having Tessa perhaps join if it makes sense to, or something like that is kind of a great logical next speaker. But at some point it could be useful to hear a little bit about, conservation commissions that have been active and successful for many years, sharing a little bit about, what they've learned and how they've gone about fulfilling their mandates, and tips and tools and resources. We have access, to those resources and that Google group. I get those emails, but I'd be happy to, when we feel like it would make sense for us, just to hear from a few other conservation commissions around the state.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, it's true. We're kind of flying blind right now, and it'd be great to just have somebody else tell us kind of what other conservation commissions typically are doing. Yeah, I mean, do you want to try and kind of run down who that person would be and just kind of reach out, and then we can, if we end up not needing Tessa to come, maybe we can just get them to come to the next one?
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
happy to just kind of find out a little bit. They have leads who I was corresponding with when we joined. So I can ask them, whether they or anybody in the network they think would be a strong partner to us. It could be nice also if they connected with, adjacent conservation commissions in Southern Vermont, because maybe there's some kinship and, shared objectives there. So yeah, I can take that as an action step.
Cool. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you. I'm also kind of curious about what conservation commissions in our region are doing. Like,
Yeah, I wonder if maybe this isn't the perfect moment, but yeah, over the course of the next couple months, if each of us reached out to one conservation commission member in a commission somewhere around here and just had a little coffee sit down or something like that, between those 5 or 6 meetings, like I think we could get a lot of good info on kind of what everyone's working on.
yeah,
Yeah, I'll ask both about having a potential guest speaker, and then also kind of how to make the most of the network, since our group is new. So yeah, I'll reach out to them on those items.
Cool. We'll make sure to put that on the agenda the next time around, and we can kind of do a little download there. Perfect. Thank
Great.
you.
all right. Anything else on next step? Action items. Okey doke. So we can at this point open it up for public comment. Do we have anyone waiting?
Doesn't look like there's anybody on here, so
Hannah Darling is logged in.
that's her computer.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's one of the town employees.
Sorry, my mistake.
No. Cool.
Okay, going once, twice, 3 times for public comment. All right. Cool. We could then get a motion to adjourn.
Make a motion to
Sure.
adjourn.
Nice
I'll
second.
second.
It sounds like we had birds. It was great. All right, so moved. Meeting is adjourned.
Nice to see everyone.
Hooray.
Good seeing you all. Yeah.
Good
Talk to
seeing